What is up? Welcome back, guys. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be back on the 95 Pathfinder. We're going to get the front axle up under the vehicle. We are going to start doing those frame plates, and we're going to start measuring everything out, making sure that the axle is perfectly centered, and get ready to start doing the forelink and the steering and everything else. So let's go ahead and get started and see where it goes. Alright guys, so here we are. We got the frame reinforcement plates back from the CNC guy. He did a great job, fantastic. I'm gonna go ahead and clean them up with the DA sander, just get them nice and clean and shiny and ready to weld on. Then there's a couple slight bends that we got to put in there. I'm gonna hold them up to the frame over there, mark them, and we're gonna go ahead and put them in the big brake here, and we're gonna give them the slight little bend they need, and then we're gonna fully weld them in. It's gonna look real nice. Let's go ahead and get them cleaned up and get them ready to go. Alright, so real quick, just to show you guys what I got going on here. So I held the frame template up there. I marked my fold for there to follow the frame. Went over to the brake, I broke that in, and then I traced all my holes. So there's these ribs on the frame. The other side I tried to hammer them in, it didn't work out so well. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna try to remove the material in between the circles where I'm going to weld it. That way the gusset will lay flatter, and then hopefully we'll be able to get the whole thing to lay nice and flat and get nice flat even welds all the way around on everything. So it is going to be welded fully all the way around and fully inside all these holes. So it's going to end up a lot stronger than it is now. So let's go ahead and give that a shot. So there we have it. Fully welded on. All the way around, all the holes. Looks real good. Turned out a lot nicer than the other side. I'm actually really glad that I grinded it down and cut it out versus trying to hammer it down like the other side. So this is a success. This side turned out very nicely. A little bit of cleanup I gotta do, get some of these little spits and spatters and just clean it up a little bit, but turned out really nice. Really happy with it. Alright, so quick fast forward. We did pull the rack and pinion out, cut all the old cross member, everything out of here. We do have these plates here that we are going to cap just the bottom part where we had to cut it. It's going to go on just like this, and we're going to fully weld it all the way around. That's going to box that in, and that's going to give us the extra up clearance for the up travel to squeeze this big axle in here. That way we don't have to have a monster truck of a Pathfinder here. So that created, it probably was all the way down here, you know, 6 or 8 inches lower. So that created a lot more clearance, and the axle and everything will be in front of the oil pan. So we have this nice little pocket here to tuck everything up into. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to weld these in place. Alright, so here we are. Plate is fully welded in all the way around. See if I can get over here to this one. So those are fully welded in, fully boxed. So everything is solid, stronger than factory, better than ever. Alright, so here we go. We're trying to find our, first off, our body line so we can get the axle centered. So we have it hanging off the fender. I'm going to show you on this side. There's these little holes right here that are the same on each fender. We have the string going through the center of it on this side and then taped in place with our weight, which is marking dead center and dead center. So that way we can go ahead and we can slide the axle underneath. What we're going to do is we're going to move the axle 3 inches forward. We did our measurements based off the bottom of the firewall, the pinch weld, and the front of the headlights. And so our 3-inch forward from center should be this line right here. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to center the axle over there, over those marks. We're going to go ahead and hang the string and mark the other side, and then we're going to slide the axle underneath. It's a quick little update on the Pathfinder. We do have the axle in. We did go a little bit more forward than we originally had planned, as you can see according to our X. We had to make sure we had clearance and everything underneath, which is fine because we're going to go ahead and trim the wheel well anyway. So we're just going to come a little bit closer to the headlight, but it's still going to be all where nothing is trying to mount. So clearance wise it should all still work properly. But the important thing is we do have the clearance and everything underneath to where we can run our linkage, and this is basically going to be almost a full bump up because of clearance. So you can see here we have all our plumb weights hanging, showing everything is dead center based off the gusset and the welds. And then we went and measured for side to side the spacing on the rotors and everything, just to make sure that we have everything perfectly centered front to back and side to side. Everything is going to be perfectly in place. Alright, so here we are getting ready to start mocking up the front forelink. I just welded together our lower frame tabs that are going to be going underneath the driver doors over there. Then here we have our front upper one on the axle and our 2 lower ones on the axle. And then here are the 4 heims, or it's going to be 3 heims because we're switching it to a 3-link, not a 4-link, plus the track bar heims. So here's the 3 heims going to go into our lower mounts, as well as we still have to make a mount for the upper inner frame. And then we're going to have track bar and track bar with our 2 extra ones. So now we're gonna go ahead and we started measuring up. We already started prepping the frame on the Pathfinder over there. So we're going to go ahead and start measuring everything out, making sure everything is perfect, and we're gonna get it all tacked in place. And then we're gonna measure and we're gonna cut. We're gonna measure for our tubing length, which we did go and pick up our tubing. We got a 1 3/4 250 wall for the lower tubes. We got enough to do front and rear. And then we have 1.5 120 wall for the upper links and the track bars. We do have to go buy another tube of that. That's all they had in stock. So, but yeah, we have our tubing, we have our heims, we have our mounts, we have our axle in place with all of our weights hanging here, making sure everything's centered. And then right down here, we do have our frame prepped. We're gonna tack them in place and start running some links, and then we're gonna see how everything lands up, make sure everything's gonna cycle correctly and make sure everything's gonna sit right. So today we're going to weld up the shock tabs on the Nissan Pathfinder's strut mounts here. So we put them in the truck, we marked where they would be straight, and we put them so the bolt would be just backwards, just past the center point. That way our reservoir hoses have room to come out. So I'm gonna go ahead and tack these in place and get them fully welded. Alright, today on the Pathfinder build, we're going to start prepping for our front bumper. So we did clean up the areas on the front and the sides, as well as over here. And there is a hole here. So we are going to cut, well, already cut out, but we are going to weld in these plates and reinforce it, because we're going to be mounting a winch on the front here. We have a winch plate we're going to make fit in there. But we're gonna start by reinforcing the frame here because it is just thin sheet metal. So we're gonna put a thicker plate on there. We're gonna weld it in with the rosette weld in the middle here. And then we're gonna start slapping some tubing on from there. Okay, so now we have the winch frame horns welded in place, fully capped. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna lay the winch mounting plate on top rather aggressively. Okay, so quick little update on the steering. I have all the heims bolted on. We drilled through the knuckle with a 3/4 inch drill bit. Got the heim on that side. Got everything measured up. We did put a 15-degree bend, and each side started 4 inches from each end. It is a 1.5 inch 250 wall tubing, as you can see there. It is drilled for rosette welds, beveled, and I scotch brighted the ends to clean it up, get it ready for a weld. I'm going to go ahead and throw the bungs in here on each end. Need to clean up the inside where the drill marks are. It's not going all the way in. I'm going to go ahead and weld all the way around, weld each rosette weld, put this other one over here on this end, and then I'm going to go ahead and thread in the heims, re-bolt it back on, and that's going to be our steering bar.
Yeah.
Alright, so quick little update on the Pathfinder. We do have the gearbox mounted. It's not in there currently. I'm going to paint it and then put it all back together. So there's the outer plate right there. It's a 1/4 inch plate. And I'll show you on the inside here. We did an 1/8 inch plate. Also, I don't think we've showed it yet, but we did paint the bumper. It's like a cement gray. Turned out pretty cool. Got some light bar mounts on here for a 32 inch straight light bar. We got our badge here in the corner. So I think it turned out pretty good. Got a skid plate down here on the bottom. What is going on, everybody? Quick little update on the Pathfinder. I want to show you guys what's going on. We do have the bumper finished, completed, painted. Turned out really nice. I believe I already showed you that. We got the wheel wells all painted. We got the coilover mounts painted, bolted in. Got the track bar done. We beefed up these frame. I need a light here. But there is a side. Here we go. There's a side plate there that we did up, so it has a little bit of bite, a little more bite to the frame there. So that's the lower link mounts. The upper link mount is fully welded. We did paint the cross members and everything. The upper link is painted. The lower links are painted. I'm putting it all back together. I just wanted to show you this real quick. It is fully welded in place. We did plate the top and bottom of this cross member, as well as welded in washers inside the holes, so that way those don't rip through. That way everything is nice and thick and beefy. So I'm currently about to bolt that up. One issue that we did have that I just fixed was on one of the bolt holes here where the cross member bolts in. One of them did strip out, so I did tap it from a M12 up to a 1/2 inch. So one of our bolts will be a little different. They all still take the same socket, but now it will thread in and it'll fully tighten down. Before, the bolt was just spinning freely. So I'm gonna go ahead and start kind of puzzling it back together. Another quick little update is the gearbox is in. The pitman arm is on. We do have a little bit of clearance issues, which I kind of had a feeling we would have. So I'm gonna put all the links and everything back in because the axle right now is leaning forward. I believe I can cut the track bar off and just slide it back a little bit just to give that clearance. I think everything is good. We are all the way up against the front core support, so we couldn't really move it much forward there. And the other online forum that we found where they did the solid axle swap on a Pathfinder, They mounted it in this exact same position. Although they did a 4-link and they kind of built a monster truck, we did a 3-link so that way we can squat it as much as possible and have a functional crawler out of this. So ours will have a lot more tuck, a lot more travel, and it's just honestly a little bit beefier, a little bit better, a little bit cleaner. We're trying to do this, you know, really nicely here. So you can see the frame plate all painted, all cleaned up. Everything looks really nice. We did trim the fenders. It's all kind of the final stages here. Once we get the steering fully finished, we're gonna finish tearing apart the front steering arms, the track bar arm, and the Heim steering. We're going to paint those gray to match everything else, and we're gonna fully paint the axle and everything black. So everything will be clean and put together. And so we're gonna go ahead and just finish bolting it together, and then we're gonna adjust that track bar as needed